All right, this thing says we are live, so hopefully all the folks out in YouTube land are getting something. My comments thing says there's stuff down below. I don't know if you lose me tonight, just keep on going. My computer's acting funny, Murphy and everything. Well, I don't know what happened because I just had about 40 comments show up. So yeah, my computer is being funny. So let's go ahead and just get the focus off of me, and we'll have some quick introductions here. We'll start down there with you, Josh.
My name is Josh. I'm from the 243 Outdoors YouTube channel. Recently, we've been working a little bit with some 243 Sierra Game Changers. Got one video to go in that series. I hope to get out Monday and wrap that series up and probably get it up by the weekend. Got several things planned here for maybe the next month, November, December, and just shooting as much as I can.
Outstanding. Over to you, Jamie.
Hey guys, most of y'all know me. I'm Jamie JH586. I do a 35 Remington series and recently won the Taco Apocalypse drawing. So I've got an 8mm Mauser we're going to be doing some more with. Just got a mold from Kenny over at Eagle Eye. Did a video on that today. We'll get it over to the Reloaders Network here in the next little while, maybe tomorrow. But thanks for the link. Thanks for having me. And thanks for all the guys tuning in.
Oh, it looks like we got Oceans on board.
Yes, it took me a while to figure it out.
I'm not sure. Still not sure I've got it figured out, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. I don't know where to start. Well, my name is Julio, and thank you for inviting me over today. And I've been reloading for about a good 5 years now, and mainly I started with shotgun. And now, for the last few years, I've been doing pistols, and then now I'm adding a 308. That's something new what I'm learning. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Is the 308 the first rifle you're reloading for?
Yes, my first rifle. Yes, I wasn't gonna get into metallic, but then. And I saw everybody doing it, so let me get into it. And I started with 1. I started my 9. Then I went added my 357. Then I added my 44. Then I decided to do my 308. It's my first rifle.
So that type of progression, you should be up to a 50 cal rifle here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. Over to you, Rebel.
You skipped somebody, didn't you?
Well, not on my screen. We'll get to them all.
Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Rebel. No YouTube. Just a author on TRN, and it had my first live thing last month and enjoyed it very much. And just wanted to come back and chat with like-minded fellows.
Outstanding.
And
yeah,
you
are having you on.
You are in the war room, but this is as far as I can get in it. And the Wi-Fi work. My wife says she's going to get us a Wi-Fi booster for Christmas, so I can be real cool like 243 Outdoors and have all kind of nice stuff behind me. I still got some cool things behind me, but it's just the start of the war room. So,
one of the guys that puts a lot of effort in putting little things to see if folks will notice is Mr. Chapin over here. Well, why don't we jump over and have you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Curtis. The channel is William C Chapin on YouTube. And before I say too much, Jamie, do you need some brass for that 8mm Mauser? I have some once fired that I'd be happy to mail down there to Georgia.
I would love that, sir. I have absolutely none.
Okay, well, why don't you make sure I get the required information and I'll get that off to you right away.
I'll send you a Slack message here in a little while.
Yeah, that works good. I don't have any 8mm bullets, but I do have brass. I'll get them
I
down
have
to
the
you.
mold. I can roll my own.
Well, there you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Outstanding. And then looks like we got Scotsman on board as well.
Hey, how you doing? Good to be here. I'm going to be branching out here, actually. I'm going to be doing casting pretty soon. I finally got another job, so I'm going to be leaving my apartment and going to a house. So able to start casting here pretty soon. So I'm going to be buying the gear, and then I need to go hunt some lead down.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Although, you know, who was it? I think it was TTV Canada recently had a post up about casting with respirators. I don't know if you got any. That's got to be a pretty robust face gear that covers all of that tactical beard you've got.
Yeah, I don't think they make any for this.
Beard's a natural filter, so you don't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not shaving, so yeah.
Just fold it up and put a rubber band around your head. That'll work.
You could do like what's his name? Is it Jeff Quinn? That has his beard. It's kind of like two pigtails coming down, all braided up.
Yeah, I'm not braiding it. I'm not cutting it off. I'll just deal with it. I'll be good.
And then I'm seeing quite a number of outstanding folks hanging out here in the in the chat on the side as well. If you guys haven't seen it, it's not quite the same as being in person, but Uncle Jim had quite the view of an outstanding sunset tonight and shared that on his channel. That was beautiful.
Yes, it was. It's beautiful. I thought I was looking at the Alaska skies.
So, Oceans, man, it's good having you on board, man. You said you started with shotgun. Did you see that that little Lee shotgun loader I just picked up?
Yes. I saw that. Yes.
I started with revolver and rifle, and I've been reloading for quite a while with that, but I've never done any shotgun. So I'm curious. You know, that doesn't have to be the only topic tonight, but I'm kind of curious about talking about shotgun reloading. Any tips or tricks or thoughts for somebody just getting started?
First starting, for holes, I usually like the solid all plastics. Just, you know, because I find those safer than the ones like the cheaper ones. They have that that other base wad in there that can actually come loose and get stuck in your barrel. So I usually try to avoid those. And then for low data, it's like hit or miss. I made a video on that not a while back, and I usually use a lot of the buckshot low data, like for any kind of slugs, because it's more of a solid mass. You would say more better than a shot is. I have used shot low data also for slugs, but that's also worked. We just gotta subtract, you know, because some of this low data is already up and the pressure is almost about 11,500. It's good. I usually subtract 10% off of that just to be on the safe side.
Juanito out here is in the or in the chat. He's our South American brother that lives in Argentina, and he's asking where you're from.
I'm actually in Connecticut.
That's a good Connecticut accent you got going there.
Actually, no. I was born in so I'm actually originally from Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico and raised over there. I came here to the United States at the age of 5.
You probably don't have much memory of Puerto Rico at all, then.
No, I visit about 2 to 3 times. But just always done everything here. You know, it doesn't really faze me going that way. But so would I go over there, live over there? No.
Yeah. No. Hey, it looks like we just had somebody else join us as well. Why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd? Hi, boy.
Hey guys, it's me. Oh, hang on. Technical difficulties. Okay, am I live?
You are.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm on my laptop. So it's my wife and I's 11th year anniversary, and we're celebrating it a little earlier because our anniversary actually falls on Thanksgiving Day. 11 years ago on Thanksgiving, we were going over to our family. You know, we were dating. We'd been dating for a while, and we were going to her family's dinner for Thanksgiving, and we just decided we'd get married, and we couldn't find someone to marry us, but there was someone in Winnemucca that could marry us, and so we drove to Winnemucca. We eloped, and so it was like my wife, my best friend, 11 years. So we're on a little bit of a anniversary date here. But she's watching TV, and I just thought I'd jump in. So I own the 76 Highboy Reloading Gun and Ammo YouTube channel. Actually, it's I guess a social media channel because I'm on YouTube, but I'm also on Utah Gun Exchange. And I just wanted to stop and say hi to everyone. And you guys are all great. You humble me, and so I'll just hang out for as long as my wife will let me. She's watching TV. That's all I have to say.
Right before you jumped on, one of the guys on here is the Crazy Scotsman. He mentioned he's moving from an apartment into a house, and he's about to start casting. Which, for those that, if you're not watching Highboy's channel, he's been reloading for years, but he's just getting into casting now and has gone through the process of trying to pick which equipment to get and which molds, and looking at which firearms to start casting for first. And so really just starting to get into that process and that series, right, Highboy?
Yeah. Where I'm at, I just had my Eastwood's powder coating show up. So what I have is I have the Lyman, the Mag 25 furnace. I have the Lee Pro 4 pot. That's a bottom pour. I have 2 molds by NOE, and they're a bit of a custom mold. They don't have the loop groove. It's just a straight side bearing surface. So apparently those should pop out of the molds just fine. I'm looking at.
Those are great to connect with.
I'm pretty excited. I think they're going to be fun to use. I'm looking at some Lyman molds. I just might pull the trigger on those. But right now what I'm doing, I'm just in the process of pouring my ingot. I have about, I don't know. I always thought I had like 600 pounds of lead, but as I'm pouring my ingots, I'm kind of gauging what I have left into the bench. I suppose I'm sitting on 400 pounds. My ingots aren't coming out as shiny as I want, and one thing that's happening is I'm testing in my driveway, and this time of year the sun feels warm, but really the ambient temperature is a little cold, so I think when I'm pouring it, it's going from this really hot molten state to really cold outside, but it doesn't matter because it's not the final mold. I don't care what my ingots look like. So it's just a process of learning, and on my channel I'm going to be doing a lot out of the books and stuff, and it's just going to be my journey. So yeah, if you're new or you have good knowledge, join me on a live stream too. We'll be live streaming a lot on this lead casting, so it should be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of the nice things about casting is if things don't work out quite like you like them, you throw it back in the pot. You aren't really losing.
Yeah.
It's not like you cut your 2x4 too short now. You got two boards that you can't do anything with.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta help my wife figure the TV out. I'll be right back.
Speaking of the lead alloy, I use a program that I got from Cast Bullets website. It's a lead alloy calculator.
Oh yeah, big spreadsheet.
Yes, that stuff works very well. That's what I actually use for I could do my mixing, and it works pretty good.
Let's see. It wasn't that long ago. 243 Outdoors started casting as well.
Yeah, I got into it pretty good and got pretty good at it, and then I've kind of got sidetracked. We was in the middle of working with some 223s, and I kind of got sidetracked with the 243. I think I still have one video made that I haven't aired. I'm just kind of saving that for a rainy day, I guess, and we'll probably get back on that again.
I think I may be an exception to the rule. I actually started casting bullets before I started reloading. I had a friend of mine who was an old-time shooter, and he was a competition shooter, and I would go help him cast and stuff before I ever started reloading. So I had a little bit of casting experience before I started doing the reloading thing. Come in pretty handy.
Indeed, it does. Now I know, hey Rebel, I know you do some long-range rifle stuff. I can't remember. Are you a caster at all?
No, I'm not. I have shot a lot of friends of mine's cast bullets, and as a matter of fact, a guy that I'm trying to get over here, who on 300 Blackout is known as Dolomite Superfly, as it were, is an excellent caster, and he casts. Hang on one second. A 265 grain 300 Blackout bullet that is powder coated, and it was being made by Acme Bullet Company.
Yeah.
And there was some quality control issues, and
Sure.
I don't know if it's back up there or not. So here's the bullet. If you can imagine that going into a 300 Blackout case, it
Wow.
doesn't fit on the screen.
You said 230 grains?
No, 265.
260. That's a pretty good sized chunk of lead. That's a good weight for a 44 Magnum or for a 45 Colt.
Well, let me tell you, it hits like a ton of bricks, and it's accurate. It is very accurate.
What's the ideal twist rate for that?
I've shot it in 1 8, and it's stable. And I've shot it in 1 7, and it's stable. I've shot it at 100 yards, and it's stable. No little swipes to the side, nothing. So
That's a knee breaker.
oh God, I mean, our North Carolina game books are newsprint, and I always have a bunch of those left over every year. And as I said on the last live stream, I have ballistic media or ballistic gel, but when I don't want to mess it up and cook it back down and everything, I'll make what I call redneck ballistic media, which is soaking wet newsprint. Water bottles they're easy to clean up. but it's like hitting a concrete block. I mean, it just is. It's not a true performance of what's going to happen on flesh. So, sort of impromptu, I set a bunch of those books out in the rain, and had one of my customers go out and fire my CZ 1 7 twist suppressed with that bullet. Of course, I'd already tried it and made sure it was stable. I just wanted him to feel it. It lifted the box up off the ground at 50 yards and turned it sideways. It went through about 1 foot of wet newsprint and turned into what I call a turkey turd, or a J shape. And if you would have hit a deer with that, it would have torn it completely up. And one of the moderators on 300 Blackout has, because of work and family and things, has not been hunting in 4 years. And he sent me a text today, and he's here in North Carolina as well. And he killed a deer subsonic. He only hunts subsonic, and a nice big doe. And he didn't shoot with a maker bullet. I don't know if, I'm not trying to get us off subject here, but are you guys familiar with maker bullets?
No.
How do you spell that word? Maker, M-A-K-E?
Is, yeah, M-A-K-E-R. Sorry for the Southern accent.
Oh, that's great. Love the accent. No, I've never heard of it.
I
Hang on.
have a cooler of magazines soaking in the garage right now for my next video. Got about 18, 20 inches of old magazines, so we're going to give that a try too on my channel.
It works good. It works really, really good.
From everything I've watched, I think it'll be a good test. I just want to recover a bullet and see what it retains on the weight and see what it does.
If you want to, in my experience, if you want to correlate that into an animal, you'll probably get more penetration on an animal than wet newsprint, but you'll get less expansion. In other words, what I'm saying is you can't make it that wet. So we mammals are a bag of guts, you know, and I do a lot of barbecuing, and I'll save, like, out of a Boston butt shoulder, I'll save the bone and I'll stick it down in the wet newsprint and see about midway and just see what it does, you know. Okay, so this is 208 grain. Let me get it right. Rex subsonic for 300 Blackout, and this is just one of Paul's offerings. So it's an all copper bullet.
No, that's an ICBM.
And I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's skivved, all the way down. Unfortunately, I don't have an expanded one here. I've got them at the shop. I demonstrate them to people, but it looks like the starfish of death after it's expanded. So similar to the Lehigh, but there are only 3 petals with this, and they're a lot thicker and a lot tougher.
Looks like a big turbo prop after it opens up. Looks like a big turbo prop after it opens up.
Yes, exactly. A big propeller. But Paul was, I didn't know Paul, and he's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And a customer of mine brought 2 boxes, his 220s in, and said, look, these things aren't stable, and I don't want them. You try them. I know you shoot 300 Blackout. Okay, I'll try them. So I sent a buddy a box that lives in Montana, and he's a fantastic reloader. And I kept a box, and we kept playing and kept playing and kept playing. And I started a thread on 300 Blackout called the Maker Bullet Project. And there was some negative stuff on there, and I didn't want it to be all negative, but it wasn't looking good. And all of a sudden, Todd, my friend from Montana, calls me and says, "Look, I'm going to put you on a conference call with Paul from Maker." I said, "Okay." So I hung up the phone, and he called back, and the next thing I know, I'm talking to manufacturer and Todd, and he had just signed a contract with the Swedish military because they shoot 300 Blackouts. And he was horrified that these things weren't stable at 100 yards. So Todd and I went to work, just playing around. And a couple months later, Todd calls me up and he says, "Hey, before I went to work this morning, I shot a pretty good 3-shot group at 100. And I said, "What'd you do?" And he said, "Well, I used accurate number 5, which is super fast pistol powder, not for the uninitiated." He said, "I don't know why it did what it did, but it did." I said, "Okay." So I hung up the phone, and I started thinking about it, and I had the day off. It was in the summertime, and I called him back, and I said, "I think I know why that bullet expanded or was accurate." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because it had enough pressure for the back end to expand."
Yeah, got obturation and a good gas seal.
Yep. And he said, "Yeah, it could be." So I cut a jig out of wood and drilled out the base and shot them, and I think I explained this story on the last live stream, and they stabilized well, and now Paul includes that in every one of his bullets. So I got some of his old, some of his new, but they're all very, very stable, and they kill well.
That's part of the beauty of reloading is you can start playing with velocities and powders, a slow powder or fast powder. Or you can start playing with primers. It's an endless hole you can find yourself in, but you can really start fine tuning. In fact, it's almost like sometimes we make up a goal just so we can work towards it because it's fun.
That is the truth, and I find that people, even reloading for a few years, when they start loading for a semi-automatic like an AR-15, it takes them a while to quite grasp I need gas volume to operate the system. And certain powders have more volume and certain powders have less volume. So when you shoot subsonic, that's where that becomes important.
Let me kick it over to Curtis here. Yeah, various folks we were talking earlier were casting or reloading at various times in their life. If I remember right, you've been doing both for quite a while. Which came first for you?
Shot shell reloading was first, then metallic rifle, and then pistol and casting were last.
So you're an experienced shot shell reloader, and Oceans is. Hey, Jamie, have you done any shot shell reloading?
No, sir. Not for a second.
I know I've seen Josh shoot with his I can't remember. Is that a church group you're shooting a shotgun with at times?
Yeah, I like to take them apart, put a little steel wool on top of the powder, and put them back together. It kind of lights up the night sky. That's about that's about the extent of my shot shell loading. I would like to maybe get into some like hobo slugs, or just using the Walmart rounds and maybe casting some slugs. Try that out. So that's something I have a little interest in.
What about you, Scotsman? You're a reloader. Mess with shotgun at all?
No, I've scored so much shotgun ammo so cheap. It'd be pointless for me to even try to reload it. I mean, I got cases upon cases of shotgun ammo sitting back there. Ridiculous prices on them. So yeah, it's for me. I haven't had the need yet.
Our men's ministry at my church, we're the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're having a skeet shoot. We have about 50 guys come out. So maybe by the time it rolls around next year, I can be up doing some shot shell stuff. I think it'd be cool to reload some right there and let everybody shoot some of them as we go along. I think that'd be fun. And well, I got the floor, Rebel. Don't ever apologize for your Southern accent, brother. I can understand every word you said.
I figured you could.
I have a question for Mike. Do you shop a lot at the Acme Bullets?
To me?
Yes.
No, I don't. My friend sent me those as a sample, and he's a disabled vet, and part of his disability is he can't remember anything, so he tripled the order and sent them to me. There's no need for me to cast. I've got tons of those bullets, and I called him up and I said, "Hey man, why you keep sending me bullets? I only sent you one order." "No, man, you sent me 3. He says, "Oh, my memory stinks." And so I said, "I'm good for a while." Share the wealth.
Yeah, because I have a coupon code there. A coupon code for there. It saves 10% if you're interested. For
yeah, sure. I'll PM you my my address. You can send that to me. That'd be great. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I can share with everybody in the room there. It's the number is 053115.
Okay.
Is that the code that the reloader dude has?
Yes.
Perfect.
And I've used it, and it works great. And I get 10% off of anything there.
And I have not ordered it from it, but for the folks that want to do their own casting, and they're looking for a good source of lead that's already ready to cast, Acme sells lead ingots for casting as well.
Yeah, and I think they sell them at 16.5 pounds, which is not bad. You get a full pot.
You were talking about shotgun reloading, Bacon. I've got 2 in the reloading room. I've got a 600 Junior and a grabber, 12 gauge. And I like making it for specialty loads.
So what's a specialty load? When you get that thing out, what are you looking to make?
Something that impresses the guys in the dove field. So everybody else is shooting the Walmart load, and you bring the 2 boxes of specialty loads and put them in your bucket, and they might be the red holes or the blue holes or whatever, and you start just blowing out of the sky. And where'd you get those shells? Oh man, that's an 1 ounce and 1/8 with a 36 bush and a green dot. It's fun. It's fun. My learning curve was really, really slow. There's I still find little 7.5s and 8s down here on the bench, and in cracks and crevices and places where I've spilled it accidentally and stuff like that. But you can make a really nice shell. For buckshot home defense loads, I haven't tried that yet. Someone you might want to invite here is some guys out of South Carolina. and they've got some great stuff on YouTube. Bubba Roundtree Outdoors. They do a lot of deer hunting down there with dogs and
yeah, I'm subscribed to that channel.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Wade, yeah.
Yeah, and he tests some wicked loads, and it's kind of funny. He went down the same road I did. I hunted in a place where it was legal to use a rifle, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing it. So I started exploring what pattern of my 1187, and it seemed that at the time, factory Remington 2 3/4 or 3-inch with the buffer they used, double aught buck, and a super full turkey choke constricted at least to 6.650. And I could put 15 pellets out of a 3-inch in a deer shoulder at 45 yards. So they didn't run.
No.
Now, speaking of the buffer on the shot shell, when you use the buffer, you know that the buffer will increase the pressure by 1,000 psi. That's something. Just little scoop.
Yes.
Just a little scoop will increase 1,000 psi.
Huh.
So when I use it, I look for load data. It's like 8,000, 9,000. Because I know once I use it, it's going to increase it, just to stay away from the high-end mark, be on the safe side.
Yeah, I'm guessing shotgun's not one of those things you just want to wander off into the plus P land and and not worry about it.
Oh, no, I don't want to find out.
Hey, Curtis, I see you and a couple others that are successfully hanging out in the side chat as well. Are there any topics or questions out there that we should bring up here to the panel?
Well, there hasn't been anything that's out of the ordinary. Of course, we're drifting off into the green dot discussion because some of the guys really like those pistol powders like PC Bullet Empire. I was telling him that I picked up a box of dots to try, but there was only like 2 of each color, and they kept sticking to my teeth. They're talking a little bit about guys running short on lead. Someone was complaining they were down to only 100 pounds of ingots. That's pretty sad. You better get busy. Nathan, I think his fiance forbids lead in the house, so he's got a problem. Let's see. We got someone likes green dot, lead bullet junkie. Doesn't load shotgun, but he has clays and blue dot. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. My shot shell loading is pretty benign. It was pretty much back in the day when we started shooting trap and skeet with the family. I used to go every Sunday with my dad and shoot, and we always loaded shot shells. So they're pretty much 1 ounce AA clones that we load on a Mech 600 Junior, and I probably haven't changed a bushing in the shot bar in 30 years. So it's always the same. Now, this past year, I did download them a little bit. I was thinking my son might like a little bit less, but he shoots we shoot 1 ounce and 7/8 ounce in 12 gauge these days for trap, and I'm down to 3/4 of an ounce in 20 gauge for skeet. So pretty much just AA and Premier shell holes. So I mean they go together so easy. They're almost brainless. It's kind of pull the lever and they come out. So I haven't done any of the crazy shotgun reloading, high performance or weird slugs or buckshot or anything. Heck, I've never even fired around a buckshot. I fired a handful of Forster slugs, and a few sabots, but for the most part, the shot shell stuff's trap and skeet, pretty benign.
Yeah, I think just about everything I've ever shot in the shotguns, I bought at Walmart. Chico says that he has a coupon code for Acme Bullet Company that's still active, 20% off. The code is 9124.
Oh, there must be something new. I can always try that.
They're going to be swamped with orders tonight.
Yeah.
I did catch a
new side chat topic. 243 Outdoors is rubbing it into Eagle Eye that he picked up 3 pounds of H4350.
You know, it's I've always used IMR 4350 in my 30-06, my 243. I've never used H 4350. Are they similar? How much difference is there? From what I 350 is probably a little more temperature stable.
Yeah, I don't know. I know IMR 4350 is a little faster burning, I think, but it's all similar. I think it ain't a direct substitute, so you don't want to do that. But as long as you're working your loads up, I mean, it's going to be close.
I always say IMR, switching from IMR to H or H to IMR is like switching lot to lot. You know, like 243 said, just back off a little bit. But any of the H powders are always more stable. They've Hodgkins put the temperature insensitive in H. The IMR is the more of the old school stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a price difference?
Yes.
No.
Depends
There
on
is. Yeah, well.
Yeah, it depends on where you buy it. But what I've seen is the IMR's a couple of dollars cheaper a pound.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
And
Maybe
easier to find.
That's why I've always had. I don't know.
During the scare, like 2 years ago, I was out and I found a gun shop in Evansville, Indiana. They had it, and I believe I paid like $40 a pound. And I cringed, but what else do you do? Because I wanted it. I wasn't walking away without it. So.
Oh, that's how much is powder in my area. About $40 a pound.
I can get the shop I get it at is just a touch high. They're usually 33, 34 a pound for H 4350. I bought it as low as 29, I believe, before.
You know, you guys are making me feel fantastic.
Hey.
You don't know. I own a gun shop and I sell a lot of reloading supplies, and I sell IMR for like 28 and H for like 30.
Yeah.
I think I started with the IMR powder with the 4350 because the first couple things I reloaded in rifle. Thank you, hon. First couple things I loaded in rifle were 243 and 30-06, and I bought a reloading set and it came with a reloading manual, and I looked in the book and both powders were listed, or both calibers listed that powder, and it was on the store shelf, so I picked it up.
You know, we went through the same shortage thing with Reloader 15 before everybody switched to 6.5 Creedmoor. You know, we were all running about 43 grains of Reloader 15 under a 175 Match King and 308, and you couldn't find that anywhere. And then the Enduron powders came out, and I switched to 4166 just because you couldn't find Reloader 15. And boy, was I pleasantly surprised how much cleaner it was. I didn't realize how dirty Reloader 15 was until I switched.
Oh, we were talking about powder. We were talking about shotgun earlier. What's for the folks that have reloaded shotgun? What's your preferred powders there?
Well, I run Red Dot in my 12 gauge trap loads and Unique in 20 gauge skeet loads, and it's been that way for a long time.
I run Green Dot, and if I want something hot that's probably going to punch me a little bit, Herco.
Yeah.
Now, is Herco a little hotter than Blue Dot, or they're about the same?
Then what?
Is Herco a little hotter than Blue Dot? I use Blue Dot, so is it hotter than what?
Yeah, Herco is just a little hotter than Blue Dot. Yeah. Yeah, you can feel it.
Well, we got PC Bullet Empire out here that'll use about any dot and about anything just to try it, but you know, then he's got to go back to his 410 powder.
he uses 410 and 308 Winchester, I believe.
And someone said something about Unique, and I've never used unique in a shotgun. I always use it for 45 Colt, 45 ACP, 9mm. I know it's dirty, but I love the way it smells.
I'll put unique in just about anything.
Yeah, I can.
Well, it is unique.
I can never get unique to work right. I know when I used it in my 9, I was running to high pressure. So I stopped using it. Only did a few rounds. I didn't quite like it. So I use tight group, and it works great because the bullet design, especially with the Acme, the shoulder's too wide. So if I try to, I have to really sink down the bullet in order to clear the rifling. So with the unique, I couldn't do that because I ran it a lot to high pressure. So
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with unique on pistols so far. I'm running the 150 grain bullet right now with unique, and I have had 0 issues.
Right.
What caliber?
9mm.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with the other 9mm bullet I have from Lee, the truncated cone. That'll clear the rifling, no problem. But with the Acme bullet, the ogive is very wide. So if I set to the same seating depth as I do with the other one, it jams instantly. It's too close to the rifling. Then if I seat the bullet down further, I start running to high pressure, so I don't use it.
Yeah, I've tried unique. Good luck with it. The usually for a magnum load, I'm using H110. I've been experimenting more lately with 2400, and I like it. But a lot of my handgun loads are unique, or if I'm looking for something faster, I've actually using a shotgun powder. I'm using E3, but I found it's very, very similar to what the book lists for either bullseye or red dot.
Yeah, I did a load using green dot with my 44 Magnum. It loved it. It was awesome.
I saw 243 Outdoors just mentioned something about Trail Boss. I just used Trail Boss last weekend for the first time.
I'd never seen it in a store or around here anyway, and there were several cans when I was shopping there Monday. I didn't guess I needed any of it, but they had it.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Uncle Jim mentioned something about the smell of Trail Boss after you shoot.
It's so cool.
I have
it's got a goofy smell to it, that's for sure.
It does.
I have a pound of the Vitivori equivalent to Trail Boss. I have only ever seen it once, so I bought it. It's called Tin Star.
Yeah,
and it's a really odd shaped flake. It's not a donut like Trail Boss. It's got an odd shape to it. I haven't shot any of it yet. I just happened to see it, and I'd never tried it at all. But I just grabbed it. It's been in my cabinet for about a year and a half. But has anybody else ever shot any of that?
Does Trail Boss smell like donuts?
no.
Cheerios.
Trail Boss smells kind of like a cat's litter box.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yeah,
You
A
know,
lot of uric acid in there.
I do have Trail Boss, but then I purchased recently a pound the tightwad. They seem to they both have a similar color and a similar smell. The only thing that the Trail Boss is a Cheerio, and then the tightwad is very, very fine flakes. I wonder is a similarity there.
Well, with Trail Boss, at least my experience out, you can't get really enough in the case to overpressure it, and just a dab of tightwad will blow a primer. And that's probably ignition rate and subsequent pressure, but they do have a similar smell. Yes, I will agree. They have a similar ingredient, but Trail Boss is
Well,
just
Trail Boss,
so
I think you can pretty much fill the case, but you don't want to crush it. I'm curious if you crushed it down, if it'd be similar. I'm not going to experiment to find out, but
actually a friend of mine has. I always gave the advice: do not compress the donuts. You know, no one likes flat donuts, and he actually tried it, and it's still very moderate. It's just very, very moderate. No pressure signs at all. But the problem is, if you don't shoot those bullets immediately, you may come back the next day and find the bullets laying on your bench out of the case because those donuts want to go back to shape.
oh, with the compressed?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I won't give you the exact recipe I used, but I will say that a 44 Magnum round ball loaded really light. It has such little bearing surface area that even with a really light load, that round ball coming out at 125 feet per second still doesn't get stuck.
My favorite load for single shot and bolt action 300 blackout is a 30 caliber XTP bullet that measures .309. That's a jacketed hollow point with Trail Boss, and it is literally a mouse fart load. And you can shoot everything from squirrels to larger critters and kill them dead. The loudest thing about the whole thing is hearing the bullet impact.
Well, let's combine all that. Is Trail Boss usable at all in shotgun?
I have not seen any load data for Trail Boss and shotgun. I don't know why.
Because Tim hasn't tried it yet.
We need to get old PC Bullet Empire to try some Russian 12-gauge slugs with some Trail Boss.
Subsonic slugs. That's awesome.
The Emperor was asking about the Tin Star, so I grabbed the, hey, Tim Star. That would work. Tim Star. So I grabbed the bottle there. It says right there for cowboy action shooting. It's, you know, just exactly what you need for that, I guess. But I'd never seen it, so I just grabbed it. It's the only pound I've ever seen. So
that friend of mine I told you about in Montana has used Tin Star and likes it a lot better than Trail Boss. He says it's cleaner, it's this, it's that, or whatever, but it certainly is quiet. We're suppressor nerds, so we get on the phone with each other 3,000 miles apart and shoot our gun with the phone held up to the yeah.
But while you're on the phone, do you whisper to each other?
Sometimes, yes.
Well, before we wander all over the place with this thing. Really, one of the objectives with this monthly live stream is introduce folks to the various authors on the Reloaders Network and let them hear a bit about them, what they're up to. So I guess to kind of give a little bit of structure back to this thing, anything anybody wants to bring up as far as what you currently have going on, or what any or things you're excited about or curious about. And I'm asking the panel here. We'll start with Scotsman. We'll put him on the spot there with the big X.
No, that's fine. Like I said, here, hopefully in the next month, I'll be getting the cast in. Hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be setting up the Lyman 8 turret for 308 and working on some free hit loads. Using the bullets that Kyle sent me. I also have some bullets from Jamie, and I think I got some bullets from someone else too. So I got plenty of bullets. I just got to get a loading and cranking on the handle. So 308's coming here pretty soon. Yeah, other than that, packing my stuff up and trying to move.
Speaking of, I've seen the idea thrown around a little bit, but haven't seen a lot of it. There's folks hang out, and a lot of them are casters, and they're wanting to try out bullets from different molds and things. What a great opportunity to say, hey, I've got this mold and you got that mold. Anybody interested in trying out a few of these bullets before you go buy the mold or whatnot? So a little bullet exchange. Slack is a great place for facilitating that type of thing.
Yeah, there's a good bit of that going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And heck, I've sent brass off. Didn't expect anything, and next minute I know I got bullets in the mail. Not complaining, just saying it's a good place to be.
It is.
I think that's the best thing that came along was that Slack program. Yeah, so we keep in touch with each other, you know.
I agree.
Yep, it's a cool platform, sure.
And I didn't have a clue when I said, hey, I got a hold of Taco and said, I've got this crazy idea, and we started playing with it. I didn't have a clue that several weeks later, YouTube was going to come out and say, hey, that private message feature that you're using, we're killing it. All right, Curtis, anything you want to bring up that you got coming up?
Well, the weather kind of threw a wrench in the works for me this week. It started snowing around here. It snowed every day. It snows and melts and snows and melts. The hunters are happy. But weather got kind of icky, so I was kind of doing some indoor stuff. I've been catching up on a little casting. I showed some pictures on Slack there. I've been using a 32 H&R bullet in 300 blackout. It's a little 78 grain Lyman load, and with 3 grains of Trail Boss, it clocks at exactly 1050, and it is so quiet and so fun, and it feeds real well in I have the Ruger American Ranch that uses the standard AR-15 magazines, and they feed dynamite out of that. So I've cast up some more of those. I haven't decided if I'm going to lubricize them or if I'm going to powder coat them. I'll do one or the other. And I got some 150 and 170 grain Lee 30-30 bullets that I've been fooling around with it. Good luck with Trail Boss, not so good luck with CFE Black. I went off the deep end and bought 8 pounds of that CFE Black, and I've regretted it ever since. That powder, it's squirrely like H110. You know, if it doesn't have a case full, it does weird stuff. And I was noticing in 300 blackout, you know, with a subsonic charge and a 170 grain bullet, you fire the round and it reduces the headspace of the cartridge by 5 thousandths. I load the same bullet with a subsonic load of Trail Boss, it puts it right back to 0 on the headspace gauge. So I don't know if the brass is swelling and sticking in the chamber and then releasing and doing something silly, but it's really strange. But it works great for supersonic rounds. I've shot some of it in the AR subsonic, and I've kind of keep gravitating back to IMR 4227 for the heavy bullets and Trail Boss for the light bullets. So I've been fooling with that a little bit. I think everyone's seen the slow twist AR-15 target rifle that I put together, and I shot a handful of Josh's 55 grain cast bullets in that. I've got a few more that are ready to go out and test. I think I've got a range where they'll run, so that's going to be interesting to see. And I was shopping for parts from Nodak, Spud, and Brownells. I was going to turn that into a retro build after I got done shooting it off the bench, and then I stumbled across a really nice Colt SP1 Sporter, so I just bought that instead. So I cleaned that all up, and I haven't taken it to the range yet. I'm going to shoot it. Everybody says save them, save them. I'm going to shoot it. I've wanted a retro looking AR for a long time, and now I've got one, and it's gonna be a regular at the range for me. So those things are going on. I don't know if I'm going to get out and hunt or not. My son's asked. We may slip out next weekend. The schedule's a little tight. Depending on what we end up doing after the Thanksgiving holiday, we may try to get out a little bit. Our firearms full deer season down here is only 2 weeks. So we may get out, we may not. I don't know. So got those things going on. I still have a 223 build to do, a bolt gun that I want to do and do a ground up kind of thing. I've got Georgia Boys cast 450 Bushmaster to work on. A few other things. I grabbed another 350 Rem Mag a couple weeks back, so I want to get that tuned up and see how that goes. And so there's a lot of things to do, more than I can even remember. The pile's getting deeper.
If I remember right, you got that new Thompson center compass. What are you thinking of that?
Was that I've not purchased a compass. I've
No,
thought about it. There's a used one down at the shop that I think I could probably get for about $125 if I beat them up. It's a 308 though. If it were a different caliber, I probably would try it. But I've got so many 308s. It's starting to get to be a hassle having brass that's fit to all of them because I have too many of them.
Curtis, do you need any factory ammo for 350 Rim Mag?
When I see it, I typically buy it. I think I probably have the world's largest hoard, but if you have some, I'd entertain it. It's probably the Remington PowerPoint.
I can't remember what it is. I think so. Yeah. I got it at a box of ammo at the shop. I'd be glad to send it to you. If you want to pin me on Slack and send me your address, I'll.
What name do you use on Slack?
Rebel.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely be interested in it. I have probably.
So, yeah. All I'd ask is, I'll send it in a priority mailbox and just pass it on. Pass on the wealth, man.
Okay, is there anything that you need? I have quite a stash of this and that and the other. I might be able to help you with something.
You never know. You never know.
He needs some more 300 blackout cast bullets.
I've got some SNSs that I haven't been real thrilled with. They look a lot like that 260 that he was showing. SNS Casting in Illinois does a 195 grain bullet that's that shape, and I found it to be quite squirrely. So luckily I only bought a sample pack of those. It was like 25 or 30 bullets.
It's funny that you were talking about that CFE black. Are you on 300 blackout talk at all?
I've read a little bit there. I don't have an account or anything, but I have browsed around there a bit.
Sometime get on there and my friend from Montana, his handle's Delit, and he's our resident mad scientist. He did a whole thread on CFE black, and it reminds me a lot of accurate 1680. 1680 subsonic is very, very dirty. When you compress it and start shooting it supersonic, it turns into a different powder.
Yeah, I found that. I started looking at it because I was like, how am I going to burn this all up? So, I might shoot some in 222 or something, but that's going to take a long time with the powder charges that I'm using. But I started fooling with it. I looked at the speed of it in charge weights and just started doing some case volume versus charge weight in various things. And I started playing with it in 357 Magnum. It was really funny because I picked a conservative charge and it was slow. And I went up a half of a grain and it didn't change. And I went up a half of a grain and it didn't change. And then when I got up to being about the same numbers you'd see in H110 or 296, all of a sudden it got crazy. I mean, it's like it gained 500 feet per second with a 0.2 of a grain increment. And it's like, wow, that's nuts. And then it got in a sweet spot, but it started to show pressure right away. So I said, okay, this is luckily I was shooting in a GP 100 that's real strong. But I think I might try in 450 Bushmaster, if nothing else, just to burn it up, because it's luckily I got it at a good price. I bought 8 pounds of it for like $108, so it wasn't it wasn't a bad deal. But I'm not real thrilled with it in blackout, so we'll see.
And besides, you owe Georgia Boy some 450 videos, right?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be Lil Gun. I've played with a couple of different things. It's kind of like the guys in their 4350 and the 6.5 Creedmoor. For some reason, 450 Bushmaster, you cannot go wrong with Lil Gun. That cartridge, especially in that little Ruger American Ranch, it has no business shooting as good as it shoots. And all I can attribute it to is it's a straight walled cartridge, fast powders, decent trigger in the gun, and that's all I can attest it to, because it makes no sense that my 14-year-old son can shoot a 275 grain copper solid at 2,200 feet per second and flinch on every shot and have 3 of them touching at 100 yards. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. But it's an incredible cartridge for, it's amazing how it's evolved into being a hunting round when it was supposed to be a tactical thing, and it just happens to squeak into the numbers, to be legal in all these states lengthwise and things. But it's, if other straight wall cartridge belongs like that, I don't know why I don't shoot 4570, because if it shoots like that, I mean, I guess that's what I would go to.
Let's kick it over to Julio. What have you got coming up in the present and near future?
For next month, hopefully, I'm adding another press. I'm adding a progressive shot shell loader, because I've been doing a lot more trap shooting. I'm adding that, and also the project for the 308. I ordered today some brass from that fancy brass you have listed there at the Reloaders Network.
Oh yeah, the one Kyle Lusk went and got us a discount code.
Yes. So I ordered 500 processed brass for 308 there today. So that's my project for now. And I gotta order some dies, and I got a lot of stuff to get going before I start it. I'm looking forward to it.
It's outstanding. Yeah, it's kind of hard to go wrong with the 308.
Yeah, because I was looking at the 6.5, but if you
Grendel or Creedmoor?
the Creedmoor, but I couldn't find any cast for the load data. But NOE makes a mold for 6.5 Creedmoor for it, but I couldn't find no load data for a cast bullet on that. So it's I didn't bother with it. I just stuck to the 308 because load data is out there all over the place for 308, and the 6.5 Creedmoor is.
Now, what are your plans with that 308? Are you gonna hunt with that, or is that just a fun at the range gun, or?
To have fun on the range, I can't use it for hunting here in Connecticut. I can use it on private land, but I cannot use it on state properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mainly for just like we have here 100 yards, so I like more like to precision shooting, pretty much. Pretty much a range rifle. Hopefully one day I can take it out shooting, go to another state. Since I'm close to New Hampshire and Vermont.
Kick it over to Jamie there. What have you, are we going to see some 8mm here in the near future?
That's the plan, sir. But before we get to that, I've got load 7 and the 35 Remington loaded up. I've got 3 more powders. I want to do preliminary testing with that, and then we'll move to fine tuning those loads. I think I'm going way down that rabbit hole, and we will be doing some 8mm. But right after the first of the year, we've planned to, Cranky Cletus and I plan to tag team up on some 30-30 Winchester load development. And sound like Curtis was going to do some of that too, so we might have to check in with him and get his input as well. But yeah, I'm excited about the 8mm. Here, I don't know if y'all can see this, but here's the mold that Kenny at Eagle Eye sent me. It's a little single cavity. Uh, uh, Charlie Brassstuffer sent me a note and commented and said it was a. He looked up the number for me, and it's a 223. 323 165 grain gas checked bullet. So, and he even has some gas checks. So, if I can get some brass from Curtis, make some of these bullets, we'll powder coat them suckers and send them down and see how well they do. So I got lots to do too.
Sounds like you and Cranky and Curtis may have to do a kind of version 2 of the Three Amigos project, like the Kyle and Uncle Jim and Ozark Spirit are doing with the 300 Blackout.
Well, did Jamie and Cranky have 350 Rem mags?
No, I don't.
Well, 30-30 would be great. A good place to start is IMR 30-31. It's probably the most predictable, but I've shot a fair amount of Reloader 15 and IMR 4166 and 30-30 with the heavier bullets. I really like 4166 in it. It's one of those things where it's a fun rifle to shoot unless you shoot it prone. I sat there one day and I shot probably 20 rounds prone at 100 yards with my Model 94, and every one of them bit me in the. I mean, I was like, why am I putting myself through this? Shoot the thing offhand or sitting or something, but just the shape of the stock prone, it just nails me every time. And it's not a violent round at all. It's just the geometry of the rifle.
Well, the lever action rifle is the reason it was never adopted for military service, except for a few countries contracted some Winchesters back in the day. But that was the reason. You can't shoot them prone because you go to throw the lever and it hits the ground. You have to you lose your sight acquisition between every single shot. The bolt action was much more efficient for that, and that's what most of the militaries went to, like the M48, K98 style stuff, which was the Mauser was the original, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, 30-30 is a good redneck thing. I can do that.
I fooled around with some gallery loads in it too. We're taking it's like I wouldn't do it anymore because I have these 32 caliber bullets I'd use instead, but we'd take like a 380 round ball and progressively swedge it down and finally get it down to like 309, and we were shooting those with like 2 grains of clays. That's so fun. And my dad has a 14-inch contender barrel in 30-30, and we got that down to less than 1 grain of clays and could launch that little, it's like a 45 grain pellet, if you will, out of it. And it's funny because we got it down to like a half a grain, and I shot it and nothing happened. I'm like, okay, it's so little powder, it didn't ignite. And I took the cartridge out and put it back in the press and pulled the bullet, and it went, it did go ignite. It just was so little pressure, it wouldn't push it out. It was fun.
Occasionally, I'm able to glance at the side chat. I see Tactical IT Guy out there. It's been a while since we've chatted, so hello out there in New Jersey.
Yeah, the Lead Bullet Junkies agrees that IMR 30-31 is real good in a 94 Winchester 30-30, and I found that to be true. I started there because a friend, when I bought the Model 94, to me was a lot like how I used to be about AR-15s. Back in the day, I was a bolt action guy. It's like, I don't want a lever gun. They don't shoot, blah, 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 and don't want an AR-15. Matty Mattel, blah, blah, blah. I don't want that. Give me a Winchester Model 70 or whatever. And then I finally broke down and bought both of them. I really like them both. I really like just taking that 94 Winchester to the range and just shooting it. It's just a riot. And one of my friends that's always been into that said, just get 30-31 and that 150 grain Lee bullet. You can't go wrong. It will shoot. And I've shot a fair amount of jacketed out of it too. But I like that 150 cast Lee bullet. It shoots real well out of it.
I've got this one. This is the 170 grain Lee bullet.
I have those as well.
It does pretty well. And I have a couple more molds. And MCK sent me some brass and some 165 grain round nose flat points. But they're 310. I'll have to do some downsizing on those. Of course, I probably need to slug my barrel, but Cranky never slugged his, and he runs his at 310 after they're powder coated.
All of the plated bullet companies make us 30-30 specific bullet, usually a 150 and a 170, like Barry's and Extreme. They all have them. They're very inexpensive, and so it's an economical round to plink with if you want to take the lever gun to the range. And then, of course, up north Michigan here, it's an excellent idea for your short range whitetail hunting too. A nice compact handy rifle that's easy to carry.
Tread is asking over here on the side, he says, is it worth removing the lube grooves in a Lee mold for blackout or not worth it? I took a Dremel tool to an old Lee mold to take out the lube grooves just because I could. I bought the 6 cavity version, and so I was playing with the 2 cavity, my old mold.
He's talking about the 230 grain 5R bullet. You read around the net, boy, there's all kinds of opinions of what you ought to do to that. Some guys say, run a 5/16 drill in the bottom of it and take the boat tail off. And other guys say cut the grooves out and this and that and the other. I think I finally figured out why mine wouldn't shoot. And I was dropping them too hot. To get the thing to fill out right, it really likes to run hot, and that little 2 cavity mold gets pretty hot when you cast them. But I was dropping them onto like a terry cloth towel, and I was doing it too soon. I was bending them. So I had some that really shot well, and then all of a sudden they were just horrible. And I'm like, so I started letting them stay in the mold a little longer and water quenching them so that they didn't bend when they hit the towel, and they started shooting again. So, I was about to the point where I was going to ream my mold. I figured, okay, it's a 2 cavity Lee mold. They're $20. If I screw it up, it's not a big deal and be something to learn from. But I ended up getting it to where those are shooting again. So the other thing I found, and you'll hear different people say different things about powder coating, but that bullet shoots better tumble lubed. And I don't know why. Just good old Lee Alox tumble lube them. It shoots better than it does powder coated. And it doesn't matter if I size it or don't size it. It just, for some reason, it shoots better when you just do the plain old tumble lube and carefully cast them.
Tactical IT guys wanting to know if anyone has a line on a powder coat or high-tech mold smooth, no lube groove. Full lead taco is that massive 600 grain 458 smooth. If you go to the NOE site and look for molds that I think all of their smooth-sided bullets, the molds start with HTC in the mold name. But those are, I don't know if anyone else, any mold companies are making them smooth-sided right now or not. But NOE definitely is. Prepare to Survive. What's the guy's YouTube channel that's talking about the 300 blackout a lot? If you're talking about the one whose chair is currently empty, his YouTube channel is William C Chapin. When this is all said and done, I'll put links to all these guys' YouTube channels and author pages on the Reloaders Network in the video description. Rebel, what have you got coming up here in the near future? Are we going to see any more articles of the Reloaders Network here in the coming weeks?
I've been thinking about it. I had an impromptu request from my rifle club to speak at our monthly meeting that was early. Apparently, they ran out of good speakers, so they they called me, and I didn't know what to talk about, and I had 3 days to think about it, and I just went up there and talked about the gun business, and it was pretty interesting. I described my online presence and a little bit about the Reloaders Network and a little bit about the plight of gun guys on YouTube, as well as some of the faux pas that have occurred with denied background checks. I had a 83-year-old gentleman that was buying a new hunting rifle and a new deer rifle, and I'll be brief here, but literally was aghast that he got denied, and he said, "I've been buying guns for all these years. Why am I all of a sudden denied?" I said, "I have no idea. They don't give me a reason why." And so he left, and because he paid in full. And about 2 months later, the ATF showed up at my shop. Very nice looking young lady. And started getting very about seeing the denied form. So I showed her the denied form, which I keep in a folder. She said, "Well, I guess I'll be paying him a visit." Then she proceeded to start flirting with the two gentlemen that were in the shop, asking them what the best powder was to make a pipe bomb. And I ran my hand across my throat like this to the two guys because they were very flattered. She was an attractive woman, and they just clammed up. And I asked her if she could give me a card, and she went out to her car, and I run the two old geezers off and told them to shut up. And I said, "You don't need to be talking to this lady." The follow-up of this was I've talked to that older gentleman since, and he's been visited no less than 6 times by the ATF. They have searched his house, his property, his outbuilding, and they have told him they have a record of every gun he's purchased in the last 30 years. And what did you do with this gun? What did you do with that gun? And he just said, "I sold them." Where? At a flea market. That's illegal. Well, he's not in jail, so they've really harassed him bad. Come to find out that during the Obama administration, and I don't mean to get into politics here, but during the Obama administration, it was mandated that instead of going back 20, 25 years, you go back to when you were born. And apparently he had been arrested in the 40s and got some rough treatment from sheriff's deputies. And you can tell this old fella was pretty strong in his youth, a pretty big guy. And he drummed those deputies pretty good. And so they threw the book at him, and he got a felony. Well, it didn't occur in his record when he started buying hunting guns, and he bought rifles and pistols and stuff for 30, 40 years before this came back on him. Pretty tragic, really. He knows he did something wrong, but he didn't deserve that kind of treatment, and it's pretty rough. So that's what we had the conversation about. Other than that, as I said on the last live feed, I have no deer here at my house locally because of a problem with the neighbors. A friend of mine that lives a mile up the road is letting me hunt. I just returned from that hunt And I started off the meeting the other night by saying, to get everyone's attention, I said, as a gun store owner, I find that the 6.5 Creedmoor sucks. And that got everyone's attention. and
pitchforks come out.
Yeah. I tell you, this barrel you're seeing right here, you know, I said on the last live feed that I tell a lot of guys that I shoot a 6.5 308 improved, which is a 260 improved. And I don't know if y'all can see it all that good, but this is a Tika Master Sporter with a Schilling pre-fit on it. Pretty simple build. It shoots a 143 ELDX at about 2,900 feet per second. So, yeah, there are options besides. It doesn't sound as sexy as Creedmoor, but and 243. By the way, I've watched some of your videos. I really like them. I've killed more deer with a 243 than Carter's got little brown pills. And my next build is probably going to be a 243 Ackley improved.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, there you said a lot there, but the you know, the record of every firearm purchase, we know that's happening, even though a firearm registry is against the law for them to do.
Oh yeah,
just call it another name.
Well, she had the list.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Well, we've been talking a lot about 240. Well, 243 keeps coming up tonight, so we'll kick it over to the 243 channel. What's you mentioned getting back to casting. You mentioned a couple things. What's the winner in the cornfields going to produce here in the next few weeks?
Oh, I don't know. Around here, it's just the 12 gauge slug or 20 gauge slug. We're going to finish up the game changers hopefully Monday. I'm going to shoot the magazine ballistic gel, so we'll see how that does, and then kind of wrap that series up. And I've got some new bullets in. I got them in actually yesterday. These are Fort Scott munitions. These are a solid copper 80 grain. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try some out, so they sent me some. And these are designed to tumble upon impact. They don't expand because they're solid. So we're going to be working with those a little bit. We just have 50 rounds, but probably use H4350 again. I've took some of these out and measured them, and because they're machined like CNC bullet, they are exactly the same. Every one is exactly 80 grains. They are very precise looking rounds. So they're a little bit larger than a normal 80 grain because they're copper. So they're light for size, I guess you would call it. But we're going to be playing with that a little bit. I'll probably load up one or two here in a day or two, and I'll go ahead and do the ballistic test with my magazines, get that over with, and kind of get some test velocities because the load data is going to be a little bit different. Ocean picked up the 308, and he's got me considering buying that gun too from Kentucky Gun Company. That's a pretty good deal on that, and I think I need a 308, so we may be doing that here shortly. Other than that, I had a kind of a work schedule change, which has really set back my YouTubing. I'm about a week behind on videos. If you put up a 5-minute or less video, I've probably watched it, but anything longer, I haven't had time. So that's kind of affected the videos a little bit. I still got my weekends, so I kind of got to get it all crammed in there. Another thing is I did move all my content to Gunstreamer. Loads of Bacon kind of put a deal up. I created an account, sent them a message. They transferred all my videos for me. It didn't do nothing on my part. And every time a YouTube video goes live, it's automatically put on that channel. So I don't have to do nothing on my part. So I'm really liking that. That's kind of some added security and backup in case something happens on YouTube. I probably won't be real active on that, but I'll check it every few days. And that's really about it. I got a lot of stuff I want to try in the next couple months, so I think the schedule's going to be full of good content.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
And I got something else. I seen a 243 handy rifle at the gun shop today, and it was $200. So did I miss a good deal?
Yes.
I picked it up and I debated about it, and I was like, oh, I don't know, and I don't know. I know they're extremely accurate and kind of getting rare, and I don't know.
That was my first rifle. We're getting
they
that
had
from
one.
some.
Yeah, there's an app going on.
There's one on the rack at the local store here in 708, and I've thought about it 100 times, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't need it.
That's kind of like me. I was like, I got one 243, but hey, we need another. But $200 sounded like a decent deal, but I had no idea. But yeah,
Well,
probably
especially since Remington killed it and they don't make them anymore.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it.
Was that one an
Hey, guys.
NEF or an H&R? Which variant was it?
It was an H&R.
I almost bought one in 35 Whalen once too. That would have just been a painful experience.
Need has nothing to do with it. All right. It don't say you don't need it. Need is do you want it?
I didn't want it enough. If
Yeah.
I would have wanted it, I would have bought it. I don't, need was the wrong word because I buy lots of things I don't need. I didn't want it enough to do it.
Yeah,
In
the
your case, it was
H&R for
painful.
TR, that's a pretty good deal, man. If I was you, I'd pick it up.
Is it the bull barrel?
No, I believe it ain't. It seemed like a pretty slim barrel.
Yep, the one I have is a bull barrel, and there's no doubt looking at it that it's a bull barrel.
It's got the rail on it. I guess they all have the rail, but
That's the one I have is a H&R Ultra. It's a fancy laminated stock with a heavy barrel.
yeah, this was just the black regular synthetic stock.
Yeah, mine's got the laminate. Actually, I bought that rifle because that was the first rifle I bought, and I bought it because the state I lived in at the time, in order to, the requirements for deer hunting was it had to be more than 22 caliber. But I also knew I wanted to go hunting coyotes, and so I wanted something, smaller than 30-06. In theory, it would harvest some pelts. I've never sold a pelt to anyone, but I take that back. I sold an elk hide for a few bucks, but that's a completely different story. But that's how I ended up with 243. It was the right price. It was on the shelf, and it was big enough to hunt deer, but it was something I could still hunt coyotes with. I love it. And now I've got, I need to do a video just showing that rifle. I've got 5 barrels for that rifle.
I did a test one time. It really wasn't a test. I sighted in about 5 different rifles and said, okay, every time I kill a deer with one, I'm going to put it down and pick up the next one. And the first deer, I had a friend that had some property, was overrun with does, and I took a 45-70 and popped a big doe with a 300 grain hollow point, and she ran about 60 yards and piled up. Well, 2 days later, I was on the same stand over the same corn pile, which is legal here in North Carolina on private land, and I had a 243. And I shot the deer in the same spot. And I said, I just want to see what happens. She ran 20 yards. Speed kills. Absolutely kills. That was an 85 grain partition with 4350 IMR.
Yeah, I've shot a few deer with that 243 with I think it was an 85 grain Sierra Game King.
Yep. I'm using those here in a 6x45, necked up 223.
Right.
These Fort Scott rounds, they are 80 grain, but they're a 540 BC on them, so they are crazy high ballistic coefficient. So I was amazed by that. So they ought to be a laser load, I think, for 1,000 yards or something.
That I was just thinking back at one of the deer I shot with that 243. I was in Alabama, and there you could shoot 2 deer a day, but only one could have antlers. And there's a big doe and a yearling out in the field. I'm just watching it for a while, and it started acting like it was going to get spooked. So I shot it, and it turned as I did, and I caught it in the ribs. But that bullet came out the center of her chest, and there was a piece of lung the size of your fist hanging out the front end of her chest. She ran 15 yards and collapsed just off the edge of the green field. Deer showed back up a few minutes later, and right at sundown, there's nothing with antlers, so I shot at another doe, completely missed. I felt stupid. I closed my eyes and leaned into it as I shot, and shot probably 8 inches under the belly. They all went running, not knowing what was going on, and 2 of them stopped directly underneath me. So I leaned over with my 357 and shot one of them right in the center of his back. It jumped straight up in the air, fell down, and was done. So.
Mm-hmm. I always say the 243 is the forgotten 1,000-yard cartridge. It's very, 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 very capable. As a matter of fact, Hornady, they're backing the cartridges up with great factory ammo, but the 6 Creedmoor, yeah, I'll take a 243 any day. Just me. Maybe I'm old school.
Scotsman, are you much of a rifle shooter at all?
Yeah, I have a couple 308s. I'm building the 6.5 Creedmoor AR right now. Yeah, I'm working on the long range stuff. I'm actually going to be a lot closer to PA with my new job. And there's a range in PA that you can shoot almost, I think it's 1,500 yard range. So I'll be heading up there hopefully sometime soon and getting a membership and be going back and forth up there and hopefully getting some good long range videos in as well.
That's awesome. Have you got everything you need for that new AR?
No, I still need to. I got everything for the lower. That's pretty much complete. Only thing I still need now is I still need to get my bolt carrier group, charging handle, barrel, foregrip, and all that stuff. That's the most expensive parts. So those are going to be a little bit. I've still got, let's see, that's what. Probably close to about $1,000 left to spend.
Are you going to put an adjustable gas block on it?
Yeah.
Good. You can really tune your rifle well with an adjustable gas block.
Yeah, it'll be adjustable. And break, I'm going to reach out to John Huber Concepts, because I know John pretty well. I've shot with him, and if you guys don't know Huber Concepts, go look him up. But Huber Concepts makes some of the best brakes on the market. I shot his 30-06 that he built, and it was like shooting a 22.
He was out at Utah at the Milk Jug Challenge. I think he makes some triggers also, but yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, he does triggers for the Remington 700 series. He's working on an AR-15 trigger right now still. But yeah, he's insane between his triggers and his brakes. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Now the guy himself, he is eccentric, and what I mean by eccentric is that the first time I met him at 2 o'clock in the morning. We were still up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he was just going on and on and on about the various triggers, the various brakes, and everything else. And yeah, he's a heck of a guy, lots of knowledge. Yeah, he does some awesome stuff. So I really want to get his break on this gun. But yeah, I probably still got about $1,000 to spend.
Hey, Rebel, Eagle Eye's been asking on the side chat, what do you use for a case annealer and neck turner, and any tips to improve hand loads?
I'll tell you my little dirty secret. Okay. I have a old gentleman that is a good friend of mine, and he's got a lot more money than me. And anytime I ask him to anneal a case or turn a case because he has better equipment, he'll do it. So I'll tell you what he uses. And he's got the bench source. I think that's the name of it. It's a caddy. It's a one torch system, but you drop the case in. It goes over. Once the torch is adjusted, it turns and then spits it out. And he just sits there and puts the cases in. Now, that bench source is about 500 and change, which is why I don't have one. So I just keep buying him propane tanks and handing him brass. I have a lineman that I turn cases with. I've turned some 300 blackout. I've turned 308, 243s, but he has much more precise tools. And when I bought a PPC, it's a tight neck. So I had to have it absolutely precise. And he's got the K&N turner, which is a great tool. 21st century, makes a great neck turning lathe. But the K&N is just a little handheld tool that works fantastic.
We got. We'll won't commit to this, but we'll target about another 15 minutes before we call it a night. I know the guys in the East Coast are probably suffering.
I'm getting a little yawny. Yeah.
But anything else that we want to bring up here on the panel, as well as there's probably a number of questions that have come up that we haven't addressed. So,
I have one. The rifle brass. How many times can you shoot it before it gets annealed?
I generally anneal my 6BR cases about every 4 shots.
Okay, so after your 4th shot, you actually annealed it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that's Lapua brass. Your mileage may vary on cheaper brass. Lapua brass is fantastic stuff. I'm also thinking about trying some Peterson brass in 243 and 260. And that's supposed to be very, very good stuff.
Yeah, because I have some military brass coming in, but I wonder how long they last from.
Like Lake City?
These are marka H something. I looked them up today.
That's for the 308?
Yes. They're at the, let me see if I can bring it up again.
While you're looking that up, do you anneal your brass, Josh?
I played with a little bit with the 243. I was getting, 6, 7 firings, and the case necks were starting to split on me. And my method was basically just hold the propane torch to the shell, turn it by hand till you couldn't hold it no more, and set it down and go to the next. And it works. It's a little time consuming, but I haven't done it. Yeah. Hey, just if it gets hot, put it down. Go to the next. It works. I haven't done any annealing other than on 243s. my brass. I'm getting quite a bit of brass, so a lot of it's just been fired once or two second time. So I may have to get to it again sometime.
There is the socket method where you buy a piece that fits into your drill that'll plug into a 1/4 inch socket, and you find the socket that appropriately fits the case head and sit there with a drill and zzz, just like that, and that might save your fingers, man.
That method was to prevent you from overcooking it. If it was too hot to touch, you cooked it too long, and that's kind of. Yeah. I mean, if you do it right with a glove, even it don't take very long.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Your nerves are your best temperature sensors.
Yeah, and it's pretty consistent too.
So how many times can you shoot a case if you're annealing it every few shots?
I can tell you a statement on accurate shooter that I find that's true, and I can't remember the gentleman that posted this, but he said 100 pieces of Lapua brass would wear out a 6BR barrel. A 6BR barrel is capable of shooting 6,000 shots. That's a lot of reloading.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I've talked to people, precision shooters, and they'll anneal them every time. I mean, I don't know if that's overkill or not, but a lot of them have the annealees machine, and they just run it through it every time as their normal reloading process.
Yeah.
Okay, I found the brass is marked as BHA match. This is Black Hills ammunition.
Yeah. Yeah, Black Hills. I mean, it'll benefit from it. It'll come annealed from Black Hills. I almost guarantee it. Okay. And if you'll just anneal it for your purposes, about every 3 or 4 shots, your brass will last a lot longer.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks.
But then again, it depends how much you want to shoot it and what your goals are. It may be worth your time to just buy some once fired brass every time your case neck starts splitting and not worry about it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, this is a bag of 500, so they'll last me quite a while. It's the cheapest price around I found also, It's fully processed, so I don't have to do anything. They've already been sized, swedged, trimmed.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
I think like so many things in the reloading world, you can save some quote unquote money if you're willing to trade it for your own time and effort.
Well, we say save money, and I don't know how long this will last, but I'm going to back up here and y'all tell me if you can't start breaking up. You see that table behind me? So much for saving money.
It's like Santa's workshop.
I see a bunch of money-saving devices back there.
You might not be saving money anymore, but you're having fun and you enjoy what you do.
You're right. That's exactly right.
And you made the point the other day, nobody loads ammo like you do. And I agree.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I love my own ammo.
It's me. I took some press off my bench to rearrange things around. But now I'm gonna have a total of 5 press. I'm gonna have 2 progressive press and 3 single stage. I always say I'm gonna stop here and stop here, and I keep adding.
The best press I have believe it or not, is the little portable Harold's Precision Press, and I bought it from a friend, and so I got it at a pretty good deal. And the powder dropper is absolutely amazing. It does not funnel to the bottom; it's flat. So if you put about that much powder in it, it will weigh to the 10th of a grain at every drop. I have dropped more than 1,000 cases, and I have yet to find it to weigh a 10th of a grain either way, over or under. That's pretty daggum good.
Yep.
And yet I still trickle everything. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, certain powders. I don't even think that the companies that make the hoppers, they don't really test it with all powders. Cause they say they do, but they really don't. I find it works good with the very fine powders, but anything like flaky, like 800X or unique, 700X, anything like that, it's does not meter well at all. I had to do it by hand.
Yeah, that's a common thing.
The stick powders are inconsistent with powder drops too. Like first powder I ever bought was IMR 4064, and those drum type powders, those drum measures. Me and Curtis went back and forth about those things. The fine powders just are going to leak out of those lead drum things. But you get well, this one, Uncle Jim did the thing on this. This one works real good with the very fine ones, and then the Lee Perfect Powder Measure, for me, the drum style works very good with the longer, the the stick powders. It's what works for me. But I'm like you, Rebel. I tend to throw it and then trickle, measure, weigh it, and trickle. I just can't make myself trust any powder measure. And this thing right here works real good with very fine powders, but it does not work well with the stick type powders. Then the drum type, the Lee Perfect Powder Measure works real well with the stick powders, but it leaks those fine powders that work so well in this one. So having one powder measure, yeah, that's probably not going to work for you.
I mean, it does for me. My Charge Master, my RCBS Charge Master works great with all those powders.
You need to get on You need to get on Accurate Shooter and see some of those. Have you ever done this threads where they have the Lee or the RCBS Charge Master, and they've got a really super fine powder in it, and they come back the next day and there's a pile of powder underneath it. Have you ever done that? Has that ever happened to you?
I tend to empty mine out when I'm done
That's
loading.
a smart idea.
Yeah, I always do. Once I'm done, I have the Hornady one, and when I'm done, I always empty it out. I don't leave the powder in it.
The number one thing you have to know about the digital powder measures, and it doesn't matter what brand it is.
You know, James Pollard had a comment in the conversation I'd like to address a little bit. He says you cannot outshoot plus or minus 1/10 of a grain. I agree if it's a good load. I have had loads that were right on the edge where 1/10 of a grain one way made it atrocious, but 1/10 of a grain the other way made it spectacular. So, I mean, it just depends on, where you are on the optimal charge weight, burn rate. When all things are well in the world, that's what I strive for, is when I get a load that's really working in a rifle and I kind of settle on it and say, okay, I'm done. This is what I'm going to shoot for a while. I'll just go to the powder measure and let it throw the plus or minus a tenth of a grain. And James is 100% right. It makes not a lick of difference. But I have had some things that with some powders, LT30, for example, in 6x45, where you could be a tenth of a grain off and get on a node that's a bad node, and it takes a rifle that shoots a 3/8 of an inch group regularly and shoots an inch and a half at 100 yards. It's crazy. So if you're right on the money, the tenth of a grain doesn't matter. But if you're not right on the money, sometimes you can get into an area where it's really bad with just a tenth of a grain. But the thing is I can't trickle any better than that either. Tenth of a grain is kind of you can fool yourself into believing that you're there, and then depending on how much you chase it, you'll find that you really aren't quite as tight as you think you might be. But in striving for being that good, you're getting as good as you can. But if you don't strive for that good, you're probably going to be on the order of plus or minus 2.
Yeah. What I was saying about the digital powder measure, the number one thing you have to know about those is that after you empty your powder, you have to close that valve on the side.
Yeah. I think that's what those guys were making fun of. And the Harrell's, and if you get on Harrell's website and you see the price of their powder measure, you're thinking, there's no way I'm gonna pay that for a powder measure. But the thing's got detents, so you can sit there and feel actual clicks. And I wish I could go back here and demonstrate it, but like I said, I'd probably lose you. But it's a fantastic tool. It's definitely worth the money. Paying $250 for a powder measure, though, seems kind of stupid. But when you get into the precision game, there's nothing that's stupid.
Right. The high-end writing costs that much too. You get what you pay for on those. And I'm with Jamie too, because I use a different one for different things. I use a lot of the Lee disc ones for pistol stuff, or certain powders that throw really good in it, or certain charges just happen to throw really good. I just run them. Most of my ball powders, I use an RCBS thrower. The one that they've had. The name slips my mind, but it's just like that Lyman. It's the steel drum inside the cast housing, and that works really well with ball powders. But I don't like it when it cuts kernels on long extruded. So like 30-31, 40-64, I use the Lee Perfect measure, and a lot of guys laugh at them, but man, 23 grains of 30-31, one of my gallery loads in 223, well, I shouldn't say gallery loads, one of my house loads that I shoot a ton of, I have one of those perfect powder measures that I set it up, and it throws that charged gangbusters with 30-31, which is weird because that's a powder that not only are the kernels long, but they vary all over the place. There'll be one of them that's a 1/16 of an inch long and one of them that's double that right next to each other. But for some reason, that silly little measure throws that charge very well. So it's, I use all different ones, but I agree that like the Harrells and the the Redding bench rest models, those are very good measures. That super good.
I've got a Lee Perfect, a 60 to 65-year-old herders on the bench, an RCBS that came with the Rock Chucker Supreme, and the Harrells on the bench, and then a bunch of little Lee dippers. And I tend to do that a lot.
The modern Lee measure that has the changeable drums, I have a whole bunch of those drums for some of the stuff I load all the time, but the cheap perfect powder measures I've snatched up, I probably have 10 of them, and I just have them set for various loads that I use and just leave them there. I mean, you find guys that don't like them, you can buy them for $10. You find a person that's frustrated, and I take it home and set it up, and they work really good. I just leave them set for what they are. And I have a piece of 2x12 that's about 16 well, it can't be 16 inches square because it's 2x12. It's about 11.5 inches square, and it has like 6 powder measures screwed on it, and I just rotate it till the one I want's in front of me, and I use it.
Hey, we're sitting right at the 2-hour mark. I want to make sure before too many people disappear, Scotsman got a chance. I'm assuming you got something to say about the C-Max family. I want to make sure we give you the floor for a minute for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Guys, I talked to C-Mac's wife pretty much every other day. And every time I talk to her, I'm on the phone for at least probably 2 hours a day. She's struggling pretty bad. She's got a lot of bills to make up, and she does not want to be in that house anymore. I talked to her yesterday, and she is really struggling being in the house because the house is set up for Chris. You know, the entire bottom floor of that house was set up as a reloading area, a video area, camera room, all of that stuff. And she's struggling and she wants to get out of there. If you guys are able to help in any way whatsoever, the GoFundMe page is still up there. If you can donate just a little bit to help her out, trust me, she will appreciate it. I've evaluated his gun collection. And I'm working on trying to help her with that, as well as I got to make another trip to Georgia at some point to go look at all the reloading equipment and evaluate the reloading equipment and see what we can possibly get for some of that stuff. He also has a lot of World War I and World War II commemorative stuff. So again, I got to go look at all of that and evaluate that. But yeah, there'll be some more stuff coming to where you could get a little piece of C-Max and have that in your collection if you need it, if you want it, if you want to help the family. So I'll leave it at that. The only other thing I got is Jamie, you happen to have that powder measure handy?
I do.
And you know what I'm talking about. So myself and JH586 Jamie are throwing it out there. If you guys donate one of these to Jamie, if you want to send it to Jamie or send it to me, once we have at least a dozen of them, we will blow it up with 12 pounds of tannerite or more.
And don't worry, Bacon. We probably won't put that on the Reloaders Network unless you just really want us to. But
oh, come on, brother! You were going to involve 12 pounds of tannerite and not.
You gotta share it.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to make Lee mad and not sponsor us over there. So, the thing that aggravates me so about this powder measure is this slide thing. You got to pick out the middle weight there, you know, with the little lines showing up and stuff. Look, man, if you can get used to using this thing, it's dead nuts accurate. I'm not going to say anything bad about it's cheap, but man, when I first started reloading, trying to use that thing, it aggravated the absolute daylights out of me. And some more people felt the same way. And Scotsman felt the same way. He said, "Hey, man, if you'll blow it up, I'll send you mine." So what we're going to do is if enough people will send them to us and they want to see it blown up, we're going to blow them up. And we have a real powder scale. We have the Frankfurt Arsenal. One of the people that we're going to draw out of the names of the people who send us the powder measure. We'll send you that scale and some. We'll get some more stuff up to send you as well.
I don't know. West Desert Shooter is here in the side chat now, and I think he might want to throw his old little digital scale into that same pile.
Hey, if you want to throw a different scale, go for it. We'll blow it up.
That's a piece of junk too. So
it is.
I have one of the budget RCBS beam scales, or they call it a RC30. It's got a plastic base and like a tubular aluminum beam in the the poises are like little pieces of stamped sheet metal. It makes the Lee perfect measure, the Lee safety scale, look like it's the best thing ever, because that RCBS, it's horrible. I mean, it's awful.
I can see it now, a video titled Measuring 12 Pounds of Tannerite with a Lee powder scale.
Yeah, and you count 50 pounds.
Well, I already told him, you know, if we get enough donations, I will add to the Tannerite. I will add to the Tannerite and we'll make it big.
Big, because I imagine if that's going on near Jamie, Kyle's going to be involved.
Yeah.
Chico's already on here hollering, I'll be there when it's blown up. We wouldn't do it without you, Chico.
Yep. No, Chico, Kyle, and I'll make the trip. And I'll bring a big bag of something else to help it go boom too.
Curtis can send us some of that powder he doesn't like. He bought the 8-pound jug. What was that?
CFE black.
Yeah, you can send us a couple of pounds of that. We'll use that too. But
I have a local connection for Tannerite, so I have a local connection for Tannerite. So if you want 50 pounds or more, just let me know.
But Curtis, at that price, brother, you could use it as a fire starter.
Yeah, it was a good deal. You know, one of the vendors that comes to the state trap shoot here, and there's a big shooting grounds just, I don't know, 20 miles north of me at Mason, and the state shoot is there, and big high school shoots are, you know, they have like 4 major shoots a year, and there's a powder vendor that always comes, and every once in a while he has something that's just a killer deal, and it's I happened to stumble across it, you know, and the best one I ever got is when Bullseye was so hard to find about 3 years ago. He had Bullseye, you know, at a trap shoot. He brought Bullseye, and he had 8-pound canisters, and he was selling those for, I think I paid $114 each for 2 of them. I called one of my friends. I said, he's got Bullseye, and he's like, give me one. And I was like, hey, I don't have to tell him I paid. But I sold it for what I got it for. But the real fair on prices. When he had the CFE black, you know, maybe he knew more than I did.
I've never used that powder.
Yeah, I like Hodgdon powders, but Hodgdon powders, as of late, there's been a lot of hype on their new stuff, and I'm not sure that some of it's, it's gun writers. Chances are, if Lane Simpson writes a positive review on something, you're gonna have to test it yourself. It's advertisement dollars, and gun writing has been that way forever. But you pick up like the Hodgdon annual, and and it talks. The one that bothers me the most is Unequal, IMR Unequal. They came out with all those powders that are clones of the Alliant powders, the blue, the red, and all those, and then they have Unequal, which is supposed to be the equivalent of Universal or Unique, in that speed range. Use it for everything. I was really looking forward to testing it, but they didn't even ever release it. And it's actually in the 2018 annual. There's like 4 articles written around that powder, and it turns out that, and I've read a bunch of different speculations. Some said that they were having quality problems. Some said that it didn't perform. Yeah, I don't know what the truth is, but the stuff never hit the street, and I was kind of disappointed about it. So if you look back at the beginning of my 44 special videos, there's a little hit on that, because when I was picking the powder, there it says, it says Universal, Unique, Unequal, or Unobtainable. So it's that, and I think the CFE Black falls in the same realm a little bit. There's like 4 articles in the 2017 annual. They talk about using it in small varmint cartridges, 221 Fireball, 17 Rem, and all these different things, and about how it's lighting the world on fire and this and that and the other. Well, I'm gonna charge up probably 10 cases at 222 and see if it'll shoot, and if it doesn't, I think I'm gonna quit wasting time with it.
Well, we're a little over 2 hours now. Let's go ahead and kill this so these nice people can go to bed. So I think we'll start with Rebel. Give him any last words before we lose him, and we'll go around the rest of the room here. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I'm hoping to come up with a article pretty soon. I'm not really sure. I've had some ideas about different reloading and this and that, and hopefully I can shoot a deer with this 6BR and write an article about its performance on a whitetail. It's not just a precision cartridge.
Yeah, your bullet selection is definitely going to help.
Oh yeah, yep. There's more 6mm bullets out there than anything, and I'm using just me. I don't like the way the burger bullet performs on deer. I love the way it performs on paper. That's just my personal opinion. No slam on burger at all. But I chose the 103 ELDX. I had good success with that bullet in 264, and I'm gonna try it on whitetail. I gave up a little bit of accuracy. When I say a little bit, I mean a few thousandths. You know, it shoots about 3/4 of an inch at 300 yards. So, not too bad.
Outstanding. Man, I'm looking. Bad chat, great feature. Big man article on Fortune Cookie 45 LC out here. It's great to see you, Steve. I could spend quite a while naming everybody I'm seeing out here. Scotsman, any last words as we cut this thing off?
I appreciate the link, brother. It's always good to be here. Always good to be around all you guys and learn from you guys. So thank you. And if you guys in the side chat have not checked out the Reloaders Network, get your ass over there.
A subtle public service announcement from the Crazy Scotsman.
Yeah, we added a couple authors. I just set up their accounts in the last day or two. One of them is a YouTube channel called Reloading Podcast, and another that most folks here are familiar with, the Magnum channel. So looking forward to seeing submissions from them as well.
Maybe the Magnum channel should team up with Josh and they could have a 243 Magnum.
Ooh. That cartridge will put craters on Mars.
Yeah, but the barrel won't last long.
Nope.
243 rounds or less.
Curtis, any last things to share here?
Oh, not a whole lot. Everything's pretty much just status quo around here. Hopefully get some videos made again now that the football season's wrapped up. Unfortunately, we ran into a juggernaut last Friday, and our boys kind of got mopped up pretty bad in the first half. We were a good match for the team's second string, but boy, their starters, they have three guys that are committed to big universities already, and the kid that racked up all the yardage on us was doing it on a wounded knee. I can't imagine if he was healthy what he would have been, but that team played again today and got run over just as bad as they ran over us. Muskegon team is incredible and racked up 42 points on them real quick, and so they'll be going to the state game. But anyway, yeah, we'll lead into the holiday here. I've got a couple projects going. I'm kind of trying to straighten my basement up a little bit to do a few things I want to do down there. So I got that going on, and hopefully we'll get a little more weather. I'll get out to the range and shoot some more Josh's. Excited to try those and things. So I want to get back on the 44 special a little bit. Trying to figure out something to do that's interesting that everybody else hasn't done. I haven't done a powder coating video, but everybody does those. I'm not going to make a video of cleaning the thing. That wouldn't be any fun. So I have to figure out something to do. one of the guys was asking in the side chat about not Skeeter loads, but Elmer Keith loads, some 2400, some Blue Dot, and some stuff. I've got data and I've shot some, and could probably do a little bit with that. So maybe that'd be a good next installment on the 44 special and the GP100. But I got a little bit of 45 Colt stuff that I want to do with the Vaquero, and then of course I got 3 or 4 rifle projects. So those things hopefully will be coming up. Maybe some more of the reloading portions of it now that I'm home more. I've been trying to get out when the weather is good and take advantage of it. So now that it's starting to act a little bit like winter, I'm like reverse of Josh. When the weather's cold, I come inside, and when the weather's cold, he goes and shoots. So those are the things coming up. I'd like to thank everybody for watching the stuff that's on my channel, and I appreciate the comments and the kind things that people always say. Everyone's always very supportive of what we do as authors on the Reloaders Network and our videos and things, and it's nice to have the group that we have and the fun that we have. And I think we're each kind of carving out our own little niche that we're doing, and it's a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing more.
And I agree. More 44 videos. I'm a little biased that way, though.
Yeah, I'm going to say more 44 too. I'm biased too.
Well, it's only a special though, Scotsman. It's not a Magnum, but I can get pretty close. I can do low end. I can get same numbers as low end Magnums.
Well, if you're doing the Elmer Keith load, you're getting pretty close.
Hey, are you a Ruger dealer?
Yeah.
I want an Alaskan, and I've been debating on the calibers, but I think I've made my decision. I think I'm just going to get the 44 Magnum Alaskan and play with that, and that'll be my get nasty at the range gun.
Let me see what I can find for you price-wise. I'll shoot you a link on Slack.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Casull, but, I don't know. I think I would use the 44 more.
All right. Yeah, let me see what I can find for you. I'll shoot you a link.
Okay, sounds good.
Jamie.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you being here, brother. Any last things to share before we turn the lights off?
I want to plug our Georgia Shooters Connection Friday night chats. I know most of the guys that are on here are always in the chat room, and we try to have a guest every other time. I think I've been talking to Curtis. I'm hoping that he can be our next guest, and I've asked Josh to join us. I think he's coming in December, I hope.
Now, are you guys having that next week, being it's going to be the day after Thanksgiving?
We'll have to ask Nathan, but I'm pretty sure we will. We're on the Reloading Press channel on Friday nights at 8 o'clock. I'm not seeing anything from Nathan, but yeah, we want to have Curtis next time we have a guest, and then we'll skip a week. We're going to try to work Josh in if he can still come and join us. His work schedule's changed, but we want to have 243 Outdoors on as well, and we're always. I think Scotsman was one of our first guests, and eventually, Bacon, we got to have you on. So we had Taco last time, so
I'd love to hang out in Georgia.
Hey, wait a minute. I feel left out. You got all these, you're having tacos on a show and you're having bacon on a show, and I get nothing.
Well, if you'll be on not this Friday, but next Friday.
What are we eating?
I'll cook.
Oh, okay. Just none of that weird stuff that Kyle eats. I don't want any of that.
How about I smoke you a hindquarter?
Ooh. Now you're talking.
I got to do a video of smoking my hindquarters. That's what I leave them whole, and well, actually, I break them up and then tie them back together and do whole hindquarters and back straps on the smoker. I have a friend that's a competition barbecue cooker, and he makes his own barbecue sauce from scratch, and it's good stuff. And I'm hoping I'd like to talk him out of a case or two and send some around to you guys. If I can just figure out how to get it to you without getting busted, getting the glass all broke up and shipping. But Mr. Bacon, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate all the guys in the chat room and all the guys on the panel. We all will learn so much from so many of y'all, and I appreciate it very much. And y'all try to go to church somewhere in the morning. God bless y'all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jamie. Josh?
Well, we're going to play some 243 some more. My work schedule, like I said, I'm working a little bit different schedule than I was, and that's really taking the time away. I do want to attempt to shoot a golf ball at 1,000 yards. I think it can be done. I may get lucky on it, but we got the soda can the other day, and we're going smaller. So we're going to try it here shortly.
Josh, I know a golf ball could be shot at 1,000 yards.
A 12-ounce can, so why not a golf ball?
I've done a golf ball. It can be done.
I got the rounds to do it too.
I hear you.
Now, if I attempted that, I could probably hit it too, but that's using the principle of, even a blind dog finds a bone once in a while.
You only have to be good one time.
And the idea came from James Pollard. So we'll just get that out there.
Julio, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's great to have you on.
Hey, same here. Thank you.
Say
that again?
Anything to kill this thing?
Go ahead.
No, I was asking if you have anything you want to share before we turn this thing off.
Oh, okay. Yes, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's just a great network to be in. I have learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to my 308 project. And for next year, I'll be doing a lot more slugs. I got that on the side. They're working on that.
Outstanding.
And do a few. I got a video coming up pretty soon. We're putting that together, and I got quite a bit of stuff lined up. Just try to get a time to get it done. I'm always busy.
Outstanding. And one more time, your YouTube channel name for folks that are not familiar with you.
Yes, my channel is Ocean374. You can find me at the Reloaders Network, also on the HugeTube, and also YouTube.
Perfect.
Oh, and also, I won't forget, if anyone has questions, you can always find me on Slack also.
Outstanding. Yeah, Slack has really turned out to be quite a resource for the guys that have chosen to use. There's a little bit of a learning curve when you first get on there, but after a couple of days of using it, a lot of it becomes a lot more intuitive, and there's some folks that have really made some great connections there.
Guys, the JCM 45 just showed up. Better late than never. It's good to have you here.
Outstanding. And I am. It blows me away the crowd and the community that I get to hang out with here. It's I kind of feel like a kid at the big people table. Jamie's discussion of his cooking has got me thinking a bunch of us need to meet in person. And probably in the next few months, the easiest way to do that, there's a couple of us that are talking about going to SHOT Show in January. So if anybody listening is considering being in Vegas in January for SHOT Show, get a hold of me. And I'm talking to a couple folks that are either going or considering going, and we'll see if we can't stay in a similar area or at least meet up. And then in, I believe it's April in Indianapolis this year is the annual NRA convention. And I've heard from several folks that plan on being there at that. So we'll, for whoever attends, we'll definitely work some sort of meet up or something there. And I mention that now because it's a few months away, but a few months goes by real quick, especially if you're planning for travel and hotel and other things. So just put that on your calendar in your mind. So
yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do. You know, Chico and Jamie and Scotsman and Kyle. It's neat when they do their I don't know what you call it, guest appearances. You know, the one at the varsity was pretty neat, and then when the Scotsman was down there and they were at the range, that's really neat to watch one of the guys that you watch their channel, and then one of the other people shows up, especially when it's like the Scotsman, because you can't miss him. I could probably appear in someone's video and they wouldn't know I was there, but when the Scotsman's there, everybody knows. So that was really, I enjoyed that video, and I enjoyed the one at the varsity as well when the guys were in the parking lot and, you know, got I think that was when Jamie got his plaque from Op 225, or I forget his call sign. I like those. Those are fun. And, you know, and I like the Ozark Spirit video where Johnny was there, and then the one when Bacon was there. That I really like those. It's kind of fun to watch the people that we see doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden they're with one of the other guys, and it's fun to watch them interact, and makes you wonder what the conversations are like when the camera's not on, and, you know, and be a lot of fun. So I'm definitely going to raid the Scotsman's gun shop. I'm just going to show up someday, and I don't know exactly where it is, but I'll figure it out, and I'll pop in. He probably won't be there, so I'll have to pop in 3 or 4 times and catch him.
On your way down to bring Jamie some 8mm brass.
I think we're going to use the mail service for that. And do you have dies yet, Jamie?
No, I don't have any dies yet, but I'm looking.
Yeah. What brand do you like?
I like Lee. I like those Lee 4-die sets for rifle because they're so economical. I have a RCBS set for 357 Magnum, and I have to reset the seating die to do the crimp, you know. But I like RCBS, and I've not tried any other brand really. Those are the only 2 I'm familiar with.
I don't think they catalog that 4-die ultimate die set in 8mm. You'd probably have to buy the deluxe set and then add in, I don't know, the thing is you end up duplicating the seating die unless you spend it. Their pricing is weird, but Titan Reloading sells like the collet die as a standalone on some calibers where you can put it together without ending up with 2 seating dies. So used to be it was worth getting 2 seating dies because the pace setters and the deluxe dies had the die that had the taper crimp in it, and the seating die with the collet die was the blind length one that didn't crimp. But now they package the blind length one in just about everything unless it's for a progressive that's station limited. You know, like the 223 seater that comes with the Pro 1000 is the only one that crimps. So it's kind of weird how they've changed that over time. But I don't think I have a set of 8mm dies. I'll look. If I do, I'll throw them in the box because I don't intend on doing an 8mm Mauser. But if I have a set, I'll throw them in. But I'll have to look and see.
That'd be great. I appreciate it. Now, what was that Milsurp you bought?
It's a 1912 Chilean, so it's 7x57, but it's built on a large ring like a 98 Action. It's a later variant, so it's 7x57. In effect, it's a 98 Mauser chambered in 7x57. Yeah, which the head is the same. As a matter of fact, the first eight rounds that I shot were 8mm brass that I bumped the shoulder and neck down to 7. And the reason I did that is because on a Milsurp rifle, especially when it's not matching numbers, I was concerned about the head space, and I didn't have a go no go gauge to put in it. So what I did is I progressively pushed the shoulder back on an 8mm cartridge, you know, and then kept putting it shorter and shorter until I got the bolt closure that I wanted. Then I took it out and measured it with a comparator, and it's right on the money. So I was just checking to see if it was safe, you know, kind of with a shade tree mechanic way of checking the headspace on the rifle rather than, you know, because I didn't want to buy a headspace gauge for it, but I want to make sure it was safe before I fired it too.
Eagle Eye brought up a great idea. I think we're going to show up, have a little convention at the Long Range Shooter Utah Challenge next year. We'll just show up as cheerleaders for Josh.
Boy, it'd be the homeliest group of cheerleaders I'd ever seen.
Pom-poms and all.
All right. I certainly appreciate everybody showing up. We still have 29 people on it, and I've seen 50s and 40s for a good portion of the night. So I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Looking forward to all the great content. I mean, there's so many great content creators in this community that there's more content than I can keep up with. That's a good problem to have. There have been times a few months ago where things seemed pretty dead, but right now, and not just the amount of content, but great content. I mean, so appreciate everybody coming out. And let's just go ahead and kill it before, again, I think Rebel here, I'm not sure if he's sleeping or not. I think it's like the thing in class where you're picking your head up, but really you're sleeping.
I'm just laying back in a recliner, but I'm getting ready to sleep.
So, and for those wondering, next Thursday, bacon does go very well with turkey. So
I'll see you guys.
See you, Rebel.